In the quiet hush of a suburban hospital in Seattle, where the rain pattered softly against the wide windows like a gentle lullaby, Sarah Thompson moved through her shift with the steady rhythm of someone who had long ago learned to carry the weight of the world. It was just after dawn on a foggy Tuesday morning, and the emergency room was still waking up. Sarah, a nurse with kind hazel eyes and hands that had comforted countless patients, adjusted her scrubs and glanced at the clock. She was 34, a single mother to her 8-year-old son, Timmy, whose bright smile could light up the darkest days. But lately, those smiles had been harder to come by. Sarah's life hadn't always been this precarious. 5 years ago, after her husband left without a word, she had poured everything into her job at Evergreen Medical Center. Nursing was her calling, a way to heal others when her own heart felt broken. She worked double shifts, skipped meals, and dreamed of the day Timmy could attend a better school, one with art classes and a playground that didn't flood every winter rain. But childcare was a luxury she couldn't afford. Her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, had helped when she could, but a recent fall had sidelined her. Babysitters charged more than Sarah's overtime pay, and family, there was none close by. So, on this particular morning, with no options left, Sarah had made a desperate choice. She brought Timmy to work. He sat quietly in the break room, coloring a picture of a superhero with a cape made of clouds. Sarah had packed him snacks, a book, and strict instructions to stay put. "Mommy's just helping people feel better," she whispered to him before kissing his forehead. "Be my brave boy, okay?" Timmy nodded, his small fingers clutching the crayon tightly. The hospital buzzed with its usual early morning calm, the beep of monitors, the soft murmur of voices, the scent of fresh coffee from the nurse's station. Sarah slipped into room 12, where an elderly man named Mr. Ellis waited for his checkup. She checked his vitals with practiced ease, her voice soothing as she explained his medications. For a moment, everything felt normal, almost peaceful. But normalcy was fragile in Sarah's world. As the hours ticked by, the emergency room filled with the day's chaos. A car accident victim wheeled in with a broken arm, a child with a high fever crying in her mother's lap. Sarah darted from bed to bed, her sneakers squeaking faintly on the linoleum floor. Timmy was supposed to stay hidden, but hunger and curiosity won out. Around noon, he wandered into the hallway, clutching his drawing, looking for his mom. That's when Nurse Supervisor Carla Reynolds spotted him. Carla, a stern woman with a clipboard always at the ready, froze mid-stride. "Whose child is this?" she demanded, her voice slicing through the air like a scalpel. Sarah's heart plummeted. She rushed over, scooping Timmy into her arms. "He's mine," she admitted, her cheeks flushing hot with shame. "I had no one to watch him today." "Please, Carla, it won't happen again." But Carla's face hardened. Hospital policy was clear: no children on the premises during shifts. It was a liability, a distraction, a breach of protocol. Sarah pleaded softly, her voice trembling as she explained her situation: the cancelled sitter, the empty piggy bank, the endless cycle of barely making rent. Timmy buried his face in her shoulder, sensing the storm brewing. Carla shook her head. "I'm sorry, Sarah, this is grounds for immediate termination. Pack your things." The walk to the HR office felt like a march to the gallows. Rain streaked the windows now, mirroring the tears Sarah fought back. Timmy held her hand, his eyes wide with confusion. "Did I do something wrong, Mommy?" he asked in a small voice. Sarah knelt down, forcing a smile. "No, sweetie. Mommy just needs to find a new way to help people." But inside, despair clawed at her chest. Fired. After 5 loyal years, how would she pay the bills? The eviction notice had already arrived last week, tucked under the windshield wiper of her rusty old Honda. Groceries were rationed to peanut butter and apples. And Timmy's school supplies? Forget it. That night, as they drove home through the downpour, Sarah gripped the steering wheel until her knuckles widened. The radio played a soft country tune about better days, but it only made her cry harder. She pulled over in an empty parking lot, letting the sobs come in quiet waves. Timmy reached over and patted her arm. "It's okay, Mom. We'll be superheroes together." Days blurred into a haze of rejection. Sarah polished her resume under the dim light of their one-bedroom apartment, the walls thin enough to hear the neighbors' arguments. She applied to every nursing job in Seattle clinics, home health agencies, even the urgent care across town, but each callback was the same: "We're looking for someone with fewer family commitments." Or worse, silence. The fridge echoed with emptiness, and Timmy's questions grew heavier. "When do we eat dinner, Mom?" he'd ask, his innocence a dagger to her soul. Sarah took odd jobs: waitressing at a diner where the tips barely covered gas, tutoring online for pennies an hour. Nights were the hardest. Lying awake, staring at the ceiling cracks that spiderwebbed like her dreams, she wondered if she'd ever catch a break. The hospital's shadow loomed large. Evergreen was the best employer in town, with benefits that could have secured Timmy's future. Now, it was a closed door. One crisp autumn afternoon, 2 weeks after the firing, Sarah sat in the park with Timmy. Leaves swirled in lazy circles around the bench, painting the ground in reds and golds. Timmy chased a squirrel, his laughter a brief spark in the gloom. Sarah sipped lukewarm coffee from a thermos, scrolling job listings on her cracked phone screen. That's when her old colleague, Jenny, called. "Sarah, you won't believe it," Jenny whispered, as if sharing a secret. "The CEO position at Evergreen opened up. Some big shakeup, and the new guy is starting today." Sarah's pulse quickened. A new CEO? Rumors had swirled about corporate changes, but she hadn't paid attention. "Who is he?" she asked. Jenny paused. "Dr. James Harlan, from Boston. Heard he's a game changer, wants to focus on staff well-being or something." Sarah hung up, a flicker of hope stirring, but she pushed it down. What could a fancy doctor from the East Coast do for her? Still, desperation whispered to try. She drafted an email that night, pouring her heart into it. No begging, just honesty. Her dedication, the firing, the struggle to balance motherhood and healing. She attached her resume and hit send before she could second guess. Sleep came fitfully, dreams haunted by white coats and empty hallways. The next morning brought an unexpected reply. "Ms. Thompson, this is Dr. Harlan. I'd like to meet you. Please come to Evergreen at 10 a.m. Sarah stared at the screen, her coffee mug trembling in her hand. Timmy bounced on his toe. "Is it a job, Mom?" She nodded, unsure. Dressing in her only professional blousey slightly wrinkled from the laundry basket as she dropped Timmy at a free community center program, promising to pick him up soon. The drive to the hospital twisted her stomach into knots. Rain had cleared, leaving the sky a brilliant blue, but Sarah's world felt gray. Evergreen's lobby hadn't changed, the same potted ferns, the same faint antiseptic smell. At the front desk, she was directed to the executive suite. Her sneakers felt out of place on the plush carpet. Dr. James Harlan's office door was ajar, revealing a man in his early 40s, tall and broad-shouldered, with salt and pepper hair and wire-rimmed glasses. He stood as she entered, extending a hand. "Sarah, thank you for coming." His voice was warm, like aged whiskey, calm, reassuring. No clipboard, no stern gaze, just a simple wooden desk cluttered with family photos, a wife, 2 young boys grinning in baseball uniforms. They sat, and Sarah braced for the lecture. But James leaned forward, eyes kind. "I read your email, twice, actually." He paused, letting the words settle. "Tell me about Timmy." Surprised, Sarah shared, a halting at first, then flowing like a dam breaking. The loneliness of single parenting, the joy in Timmy's hugs, the ache of choosing between a paycheck and his safety. James listened without interrupting, nodding slowly. When she finished, tears glistening, he sighed. "I get it, more than you know." He glanced at the photos. "My wife and I struggled early on. I was a resident, pulling 80-hour weeks. One night, she brought our oldest to the hospital because the sitter flanked. I covered for her, but it scared me how close we came to losing everything." Sarah blinked, the room suddenly warmer. "You understand?" James smiled faintly. "Policies are there for a reason, but they're not heartless. I've seen too many good people like you walk away because the system forgot the human part." He stood, pacing to the window. Outside, the city hummed softly. "Evergreen's changing under my watch. We're piloting a family support program, on-site childcare, flexible shifts for parents. It's not perfect, but it's a start." He turned, his expression earnest. "Sarah, I'd like you back. Not just as a nurse, but as a lead in the help shape this. Show us how to make it work for families like yours. The words hung in the air, a gentle twist in the fabric of her despair. Sarah's breath caught. Back, leading? It wasn't pity, it was recognition. She thought of Timmy's drawing, the superhero cape. Maybe they were heroes after all. Yes, she whispered, a sob escaping. James handed her a tissue, his hand steady on her shoulder. Welcome home. The weeks that followed unfolded like a slow-blooming flower. Sarah returned to Evergreen, her badge shining anew. The child care center opened in a sunny corner of the basement, to crayons and toys spilling over, Timmy's laughter echoing through the halls. Shifts adjusted around school pickups, and for the first time, Sarah arrived home before dark. Bills eased, a small savings account grew. Jenny hugged her on the first day. You did it, girl. Mr. Ellis, her old patient, winked from his bed. Knew you were special. One evening, as rain pattered once more, Sarah and Timmy sat at their kitchen table. He colored a new picture of this one, of a hospital with smiling nurses and a boy flying a kite from the roof. Mom, you're the best superhero, he said, hugging her tight. Sarah held him close, the warmth chasing away the old shadows. Life wasn't perfect if the world still spun with its uncertainties, but in that moment, she felt grounded, seen, changed. And in the quiet reflection of it all, Sarah realized something profound. Sometimes, the greatest healing comes not from medicine, but from compassion that bends the rules just enough to let light in. If you're a parent juggling it all, remember to reach out. Your story might just inspire the change you need. Keep fighting, one gentle step at a time.